So, first message that I have for you here. I feel like many of you are torn between people, okay? I'm seeing it with like mom and dad might have different expectations for you. I'm also seeing it playing out in terms of relationships. Um, you're trying to start new relationships, but there are still lingering emotional or physical baggage or, you know, um, things that are not clearly severed from previous relationships. And it's really hard for you to start anew and begin anew when you still haven't come to terms with things from the past. And then I'm also sensing as well, this is a month that you need to be very, very careful about your intentions. You need to be, the word that came in very strongly is humility. Okay. And, I feel as if, you guys are pretty sure of yourself. You guys are pretty sure about what you want. And once you decide on a course of action, you just kind of like, you put your blinders on and you're just kind of full speed ahead. And it would behoove you to kind of slow down a little bit and try to, see the lay of the land and to try to figure out the potential pitfalls of some of these decisions so that you can, mitigate them. So I feel like this sense of, breadth of vision, seeing the bigger picture, being a little bit more humble, it's going to really help you when you navigate the energy for this month. Okay. So let me talk about the first thing that kind of screamed out. And the energy is very choppy. It's like you take one route and there's a blockage, and then you have to, you're pretty impatient. So then you have to take another route and then there's blockage. And then you're like, do I backtrack or do I take this other route? And then you take this route and there's another blockage. So it seems as if every step of the way there is like something blocking you. And honestly, in life, when we see multiple things just kind of stopping us dead in our tracks, and we feel like no matter where we go, things are like challenges are presenting themselves. It's a really strong sign for us to slow down. Okay. So this card is really resonating. And, this is a card about, it's like being calm, um, trying our best to maintain composure in a situation and calming ourselves so that we don't act first rather than, like act first and think later. This is similar to, that temperance card, but this is kind of like you have something that's telling you, a spirit guide, a source of divine protection telling you, you need to really stop and think. You need to really calm down. You need to kind of tone it down, or you need to, listen to your higher wisdom, listen to your higher self. And I feel like a lot of it has to do with this energy. This is the King of Wands in the reverse, and I feel like this is your energy right here. This deals with someone who's very, very excited about a new course of action. They're getting restless. They're getting antsy. They're getting to ready to transition from one phase into the next. And for many of you, this might be, you were in school and now you're jumping into a job and you're accepting the first offer that comes your way. And they're telling you, hold out for something that's a little bit better. Hold out for something that will promise you, that seems like a better option. But because you're like this, you're operating from a space of impatient and, it's almost like, sitting on pins and needles, waiting and sitting on pins and needles, and feeling very antsy, feeling very restless. And this is not a good energy that you're comfortable being in. It's it runs counter to everything that, an Aries person believes in. But it's really telling you to take it easy, to slow down, because remember what happened the other time that we rushed ahead and we didn't think. So there are a lot of things here that you need to really sit still with and kind of mull over, because I feel like a similar event happened in the past where impulses got the best of you. And I feel like you went after something without knowing all the full details. And then it led you to a space where it might have created a sense of financial loss. It might have created a sense of emotional imbalance. And it kind of, when you went for it, you figured it would leave you with a big sense of success, and it would, you would end up feeling very proud of yourself. But something happened along the way where none of those things came to fruition, and you were left feeling like, oh wow, I just told everybody around me that, I'm going to be successful, that all of these things are going to happen. And now it's like I have nothing to show for it. Okay. So keep in mind, this is an experience from the past that is already done and over with. And something is happening for this month that's bringing up those memories, that's dragging up that experience from the past. Possibly the embarrassment associated with it. And possibly as well the financial and emotional uncertainty associated with it. It's like something that you thought you were so sure it was going to go a specific way, and then it kind of backfired. And then this experience that you're dealing with in the here and now for this month, it's dragging that up, and it's telling you, you need to really look at what you're doing. You need to not jump the gun. You need to sit still, and you need to look at it without those blinders on. You need to anticipate several outcomes. You need to anticipate, I want to say like the wild card, okay? So that's the first strong message I feel for many of you. This indicates to me some type of a business venture, okay? So if you are, for example, shifting jobs, if you're going from one job into the next, okay, you want to really, really be careful. I would say like, dot your T's, dot your I's, cross your T's, excuse me. And I also want to say as well, this is kind of like having two gigs. So some of you might be quitting a job and doing, starting up some type of a self-employment gig. Some of you are quitting work, going back to school. Some of you are, reducing the amount of work that you're doing to go back to school. And education is always a very good investment. But I feel like something is not well thought out here, and it needs to be revisited, and it needs to be dealt with a very patient hand, okay? What I'm also feeling as well, and here's the next message. You have some really powerful major arcana cards coming in. So I know it's going to be a very pivotal month for many of you. So the decisions that you make now, it's going to affect the rest of the year. So this is not a month to be making frivolous decisions and to be impulsive and to be influenced by other people. Okay. So let me talk about this. This is mom and dad, the emperor and the empress. And the energy of this, it deals with the yin and yang, the masculine and the feminine ideals, and the masculine and the feminine traits in all of us. And Aries, it's a very masculine sign, okay? And so Aries female even, whatever your gender might be, if you self-identify as female or even the more feminine, of the sexes, what it denotes is that even if you identify as female or feminine, your energy is still very, very masculine. So that means you embody those traits of, the qualities of getting things done, being straightforward, being ambitious, and putting those blinders on, and being self-starter and self-motivated, and, being the trailblazer. And a lot of the times too, when we're acting and acting and acting all the time, we are lacking in the ability to really sit still and analyze and observe and figure out, like strategize what we need to do. And I feel like this is a situation where you're watching possibly a family member who is normally, they're not like this. They're not impulsive, and they're not, rush in and destroy things. But you're watching somebody, possibly a father figure, who is behaving in a way that is counter to his personality. Okay, so you're watching somebody who's not normally impulsive, being very, very impulsive. And then you're watching him make mistakes that he should not have slipped up on. So I feel like this is a reality check for many of you. The father figure and, the parental figure in your life, they're messing up big time. And they might even fall from their pedestal in your eyes. Whereas, once upon a time, you prop them up and you really look up to them and you really admire them. And now it's like, you realize they're just humans. You realize that they are, not as infallible as you had expected, okay? And then likewise, the energy with the mother figure, there might be some issues, relationship issues with mom and dad. It can also be a situation where the parenting style is so different. One person expects you to be this way, the other person expects you to be this way, and you don't really know where you're supposed to go. So it's like straddling two different sets of expectations for you, straddling two households. So if you're like, if your parents are divorced and now there's like a major celebration coming up, and they're like, come here, and then mom goes, go there. And so you're kind of like torn between two physical people as well as two physical locations. And it's really hard for you to figure out, where do I stand and where do my loyalties lie? So I'm hearing a lot of resonance and dissonance. It's like, it's hard to balance these two people in your life. And it's hard to balance, their expectations of you, culturally, their expectations of you, as well as just, they're very, very different people. And at times with the emperor and the empress, these are really, really stubborn people. These are like people who are very fixed in their ways of doing, who are very, very, very stubborn, and they don't see eye to eye. And so you're kind of like caught in the middle. You're caught between, your parents. You're caught between expectations with your in-laws. You might be in a situation where your parents and your in-laws don't get along. Or you might be in a situation where you have like, your parents and then your partner's parents. And then the family gender roles dynamics, it just doesn't really mesh. So there are a lot of people and a lot of egos at work here. And that is why it's such a pivotal month for you to really stop and think about, what are my objectives here? I'm not just, rushing in to solve a problem. I have to it's like being strategic, needing to turn a situation around. And you're just like, but that's so daunting. How do I do that? I'm only one person. And so I feel like it's a lot more complicated, and it's not something that's going to get resolved this month. It's very complicated. And I'm seeing as well, you're dealing with people who know better. Okay? They know better. They know that they made mistakes, and they know that they're not like the best role models, but they are so stubborn, they won't really admit it. But the point is, they know deep down, they know that they messed up. Deep down, they know that they're in the wrong. They just don't want you to follow in their footsteps. So if you find somebody who is, if that resonates with you and you find somebody that has those traits, they're going to be in a position where they're pushing you away this month because they don't want to apologize. They don't want to say, I'm sorry. And they don't want to get into those gushy, uncomfortable, soul-bearing conversation, because it just makes them feel soft and uncomfortable and cheesy, right? So that's what we're dealing with here. And I feel like there could also be situations with partners where you're both not operating at your best. You both are kind of arguing over who's right and who's wrong. Okay? So it's like trying to one up one another in terms of our intellectual capacity. It's like, I'm right, and then this person's like, no, I'm right. And it's the argument then becomes who's right. It's not about really getting at the truth or arriving at a resolution. It's more about showing off to see, who's got more intelligence, who's got a bigger ego. And then at the end of the day, it serves to isolate you from your partner. So I feel like there are a lot of ego issues coming into this for this spread. And I feel like the major thing that you have to ask yourself here is, what am I trying to achieve? Am I trying to achieve harmony? Am I trying to get out of this relationship so I'm like constantly picking fights? And how can we kind of like remove the ego from this situation, okay? And then just talk about, how can I access higher intuition and higher self so that I can logically communicate my point with another person, so that I can synthesize all my knowledge and operate from more of that, crown chakra, spiritual enlightenment, rather than working from a space of ego and stubbornness and obstinacy and, refusal to see the other person's contributions. So there's a lot of things here that indicate to me major, like David and Goliath types of conflict between you and another person that is just as stubborn as you are. And it's epic. I feel for some of you, parents, okay? Parents, co-workers, as well as relationship partner. We have here an air sign. So this is Aquarius, Gemini, or Libra. This is somebody that you're starting new things with. You're starting something brand new. You're trying to build a family. You're trying to agree and have a consensus with them. You're trying to move the relationship forward. They're a little bit hesitant, mainly because they were at a place where they weren't financially stable. They could not take care of themselves. Their professional life was kind of like at the mercy of the wind. So it's like they might have been working on a very temporary basis. They might have been working, and there's nothing wrong with this, but I feel like, the work is very seasonal, temporary, or like even blue collar. And they felt like, based on my salary, I can't afford to take care of us if we decide to take things to the next level. So right now they're trying to work with you. They're trying to come up with a strategy. And I feel like you might be a little bit, it's sort of like you wanted it back then and you couldn't have it back then. And now that they're ready to give it to you, now you're like, no, I don't really want it anymore. So do you not want it anymore? Or are you just saying that because you're kind of, upset that they made you wait? So that's what I'm feeling here. It's like, pulling on a tether, like a ball or like a string. And it's like, I wanted it back then. And then, now you're like pulling them back, or they're pulling you back. And then it's just this tug of war, this push and pull energy where your timing is not in alignment with each other. Okay. It doesn't indicate to me that it will last forever, but it seems to me like you both need to kind of have conversations and really listen to each other. I feel like this is like big, massive ego conflict here, where everyone's trying to get the last word and everyone's trying to outdo one another. I'm smart, and I'm stubborn, I'm refusing to stubborn. So like giving each other even the silent treatment, and then seeing who's going to be able to hold out first. possibly withholding sex and intimacy from each other to see who's gonna apologize first. So lots of games here, and we don't need this. It's very low vibrational energy, and I hope you can, try to resolve it. Okay. The other thing I'm feeling as well is I feel like many of you, professionally, career-wise, things are really taking off because we have situations here that we have cards that indicate that you're really doing really well. The Magician, basically, in the limelight, and you have a message that you're delivering that other people might not agree with it, but who cares? You're going to deliver your message. So don't shy away from it. Okay? Whatever you feel you're in the right to deliver, whatever you feel is meaningful and important for other people to hear. You are the trailblazer, Aries, so you need to, convey your truth. And then whoever is around you that's not in alignment, or, doesn't resonate with what you have to say, or doesn't really buy into what you're saying, let them just kind of drift away, because your truth, your message is a lot more important as long as you feel it is helpful for somebody out there. Okay? So this is a month where we kind of need to stand in our truth, and we kind of need as well to be brave and to say what we mean and mean what we say, and not have to backtrack when we face a little bit of opposition from other people. Okay?